Millions of people struggle with visceral fat, which is probably one of the deadliest fats in America and all over the world. This is the fat that surrounds your organs, and it's not even just about appearance. And some of it's linked to serious health issues like diabetes, heart disease, and metabolic problems. For us to lose visceral fat in 30 days, we're not talking about any extreme diets, any fat diets. I'm gonna show you how to reduce your visceral fat in sustainable, science-backed ways over the next 30 days. And it's only gonna take 9 easy steps for you to do so. But what is visceral fat? Visceral fat is the kind of fat that sits deep inside your abdominal, surrounding your organs, especially the liver, the pancreas, the intestines. It's unlike the fat you could pinch on your belly, like the subcutaneous fat you guys can normally see. The visceral fat is tucked deeper inside. It's a little bit more dangerous and linked to more serious health conditions. It's metabolically active, meaning it releases chemicals and hormones that can disrupt your body's normal processes, particularly around insulin sensitivity and inflammation in your body. Generally, the more visceral fat you have, the higher your risk for certain things like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and even some cancers can possibly happen. So you ever go to the gym and then you notice those particular people with the different fat distributions on their body, the people that usually have like smaller waists and thicker thighs, maybe like a bigger upper body, generally are more healthier than individuals with the complete opposite. Those people aren't really considered to be, one, the best looking people, and then two, the ones with the best health outcomes. Is visceral fat normal in America? So unfortunately, yes. Visceral fat is extremely common in the US. In fact, it's one of the key contributing factors to the country's high rates of chronic diseases. This is largely due to like a combination of different things. It's never really just one thing. It's mostly a lot of things in once. First thing would be a poor diet. So the standard American diet is loaded with ultra processed foods, added sugars, unhealthy fats which promote fat storage, particularly in the abdominal area. It's always generally more calories than your body expends in a day. But the main takeaway here is consuming less calories than your body expends in a day. Sedentary life. This is another thing that gets a lot of people. With many people sitting for long hours at work or at home, the lack of physical activity is also a huge contributor to visceral fat accumulation. Generally, the more you walk, especially throughout the day, the less time you're also going to be food focused, the less time you're going to think about food. You're going to be more mindfully active. You're going to also burn a little bit more calories through NEAT, which is your non-exercise adaptive thermogenesis. Muscle mass is very important for metabolism, and without enough activity, fat, particularly visceral fat, takes hold of that. So far, we're getting the combination of a poor diet, which is a lot of calories consumed, and being less physically active throughout the day. Obesity epidemic. As a nation, we're dealing with a rising obesity rate. You know, the more weight you carry, the more likely you are to accumulate the visceral fat around your waist, which can further exacerbate metabolic issues like the ones I said previously. Specifically, it's not going to get easier. It's only going to get harder for you guys. As we get older, you know how much harder it is to build muscle past your 30s, your 40s. It's not the same. That's why there's so many people nowadays, specifically on like TRT, but that's only if you're under the normal range of like 300 nanograms per deciliter of free testosterone. But you also have to be experiencing some side effects. If your libido sucks, if your performance in the gym sucks, if your mood is awful. So that's why also you'll see a lot more people be on TRT nowadays and will be fully apparent in how much they're taking. As people get older, like I said, hormonal changes can lead to an increase in visceral fat storage. This makes it maintaining a healthy lifestyle just a little bit harder, a little bit more crucial for us, especially as we age. Generally, your highest peak in free testosterone is in your mid-20s to your late 20s too, so just keep that in the back of your mind. But here's the thing, just because visceral fat is prevalent in America and other countries doesn't mean it's inevitable or it's not reversible. You can still reduce visceral fat, which is exactly why I focus on these 9 key aspects when it comes to losing fat in a healthy and sustainable way. But always make sure you check back with your local doctor and dietitian. So the first one, which is the key to losing fat, is being in a calorie deficit. So the core concept is to lose visceral fat, you need to be in the calorie deficit, which means consuming fewer calories than your body needs to maintain its current weight. So we're going to aim for a moderate deficit of 25% below your maintenance calories to ensure fat loss without sacrificing muscle loss. Because the whole point of dieting is to preserve as much muscle as we can while predominantly losing fat. And I think a lot of people get that mixed up. We're dieting specifically to preserve the muscle mass and predominantly lose fat, but we're also going to lose fat, we're going to lose water, we're going to lose minerals. Practical tip, we're going to calculate our total daily energy expenditure, TDEE. You can go online and look up stuff like the Harris-Benedict equation, just type in everything, and then minus 10 to 20% from that calorie maintenance to find your daily caloric goal. Additional tips, we're going to avoid any extreme caloric restriction because if you do that, it's going to lead to muscle loss and possibly metabolic adaptation function and slow down. So metabolic adaptation is basically as you diet down and you get leaner and leaner, your body's going to adapt to the certain changes by either you moving less because you have less muscle mass on your body too. You're not going to burn as many calories, and just doing strategic like little things. Instead of you normally going outside to walk your dog or go to the park, now maybe your body feels as though it doesn't want to do anything, and now it's compensating for that extra energy you would have expended doing that. Additional tips: we're going to track our food using apps like MyFitnessPal, Macro Factor. I think those are the top two. I wouldn't journal it because we're at the 21st century now and everything we need is basically on our phones. So it's also going to ensure you're staying within a caloric target as well. I had a certain scenario case probably about a week or two where I met this older gentleman, probably in his 40s. He worked a night shift. He was told to start journaling in his food, his nutrition, his breakfast, his lunch, his dinner. I'm telling you right now, if you do that frequently, one, it's going to take so much of your time. Two, your hand's probably going to hurt after a while because you have to do that every day. By using MyFitnessPal, that's free, and Macro Factor, you're saving time. You're saving money too as well because the app is free versus you were to buy like pencils and papers, but that's not that much. But I think the time expense and just calculating it all together, the protein, the carbs, and fats, you're saving a lot more time doing that. And it's a lot more less mentally demanding on you as well. Why wouldn't you want to take advantage of something that's free? Number two, protein and muscle preservation. This is very important, you guys. The core concept is protein is essential for retaining muscle mass while losing fat. It also helps to control hunger, supports muscle growth, muscle repair, and has a higher thermic effect of food. It's about 20% through digestion, absorption, metabolism for protein versus if it was like carbs and fats. Fats are usually 0 to 3%, and then carbs are a little bit more like, I want to say 4 to maybe 10%. The key point, higher protein intakes is important when we're in a calorie deficit because it's important to prevent muscle loss and promote fat loss. To do this, we're going to consume anywhere from 2.3 to 3.1 grams of protein per kilogram. For my Americans, that is 0.7 grams to 1 gram per pound of body weight. So it's a little bit easier. So if you're around 200 pounds, you're consuming anywhere from, I want to say 140 grams to 200 grams of protein. So anything less than this range, you're just going to risk the loss of muscle while you're dieting. Anything more, you're just going to take away other more important macronutrients like your fats for your hormone balance, and then your carbohydrates. That's going to help you with performance in the gym. And if your performance in the gym keeps tanking, you're going to lose muscle mass faster than you think you are. Additional tip. So we're going to prioritize lean protein sources such as like chicken breast, the tenderloins. Those are some of my favorite. Turkey, it's going to be like ground turkey, lean ground turkey, 93% lean. Fish, certain fish like tilapia, salmon's not a bad one, cod's a good one, tuna, eggs, and also as far as shellfish, like shrimp is really good. Scallops isn't a bad one. And plant-based proteins if you're vegan, so like lentils, beans, tofu, to meet your protein goals. More additional tips. We're going to spread your protein intake throughout the day. 3 to 6 meals is perfect. Consuming anything more than 6, you're just going to be too food focused and you're not going to really enjoy the dieting process or enjoy your life. Anything less, and I know a lot of people can come in this like confliction where they have a job or they have too much to do. 1 and 2, if that's the only thing you can do, fine. But I'm saying less than 3 might be an issue because you're just going to have a lot more food volume sitting in your stomach in one sitting. And to consume whatever 2,500 calories for your calorie deficit in one sitting probably make you feel groggy. It's going to make you feel tired afterwards. It's kind of probably going to suck. But I think your best bet is really to go from 3 to 6 meals per day. And then we're going to consume protein at each meal to maximize muscle retention and support satiety. Strength training for metabolism and muscle retention as well. So the core concept is strength training is crucial for maintaining muscle mass while losing fat. So muscle is metabolically active and helps more fat over time. The estimate is that 1 pound of muscle burns roughly like 6 extra calories per day at rest. But keep in mind that individual variation is also what matters too. So the actual number can vary depending on a few factors like your overall metabolism, your age, your genetics. Some people are just freaks, of nature, and we could see that. Or they're just genetically gifted and they don't even have to lift a weight, and you could just tell they're already shredded and they've barely lifted weights their entire life. Activity levels. So this extra calorie burns applies during rest. So muscle also boosts calories burned during exercise due to an increased activity, moving a lot more muscle mass through gravity, which implies that you're going to also burn a lot more calories throughout the day. So think about it like this. If you're a 200-pound man versus if you're a 150-pound man, usually the 200-pound man is going to burn more calories because he has to move 200 pounds through space, through gravity, if they were to walk the same distance versus the 150-pound man. And I told them to both walk a mile. It's more likely than not the 200-pound man is going to burn more calories because he has to move more mass on his body. So the modest impact, although building muscle is beneficial for overall metabolism, the additional calorie burn from muscle mass alone It's relatively small, but it still makes a difference. The main benefits of muscle are improved strength, your performance, and overall metabolic health. So there's a million zillion different reasons why strength training is really important. So key point, resistance training increases calorie burn and helps preserve lean muscle mass, lean tissue specifically. Practical tips, we're gonna focus on compound/isolation exercises in combination. So squats, the bench, the dumbbell presses, the pull-ups, the rows, the push-ups, the curls. I always include calisthenics too, at least once, twice a week. My workouts, I think that's important as well. We're gonna do this 3 to 4 times per week to maximize fat burning and muscle retention, really. We're also gonna incorporate progressive overload, so gradually increasing the weight or the reps with the same intensity over time. So you're either going close to failure, if not to failure, on every single set. Close to failure or to failure, probably want to go on the last set because it's going to be too systemically fatiguing on your body and you don't want to keep doing that all the time. Also, additional tip, we're not going to neglect rest days because muscle growth and fat loss occur during recovery. That's when you're really building the muscle. So to ensure you're giving your body adequate time to repair, you want that muscle recovery. Number 4, cardio and HIIT. Core concept, cardio can aid in fat loss but shouldn't replace strength training, both in steady state and HIIT, high intensity interval training. They're both effective for burning additional calories. We're not going to just rely on cardio, but we're going to use it in addition to your diet, because diet is 80 to 90% of how you're going to look, you guys. The key point, cardio is just going to accelerate the fat loss, especially the visceral fat. When combined with strength training and a proper diet, 80 to 90% how you're going to look. Keep that in your mind forever. There's no half and half. It's not 50 and 50. Your diet is 80 to 90% of how you're going to look. So practical tips, we can do 3 to 4 sessions of steady state cardio around zone 2, which is around minimum 120 beats to maybe 130 to 140 beats per minute, and 1 to 2 HIIT sessions per week. I like HIIT because it can be time efficient way to burn a large number of calories in a short period of time while preserving muscle mass. But also HIIT can be a little bit more physically demanding on you because we're dieting. We're already putting enough stress on our body. It might be less apparent that you use less HIIT, especially as the dieting phase keeps going, because you're just going to be mentally more drained and your joints are probably going to start to hurt after a while. So we're going to include a lot more low impact cardio to prevent excessive joint strain, least stressful during dieting, especially if you're incorporating HIIT or heavy resistance training. I like to personally do 20 to, I'll up it to maybe 30 minutes post-workout, walk on an incline around 3.8 to 4.2. So it's kind of like a fast walk, and that will burn, I want to say, almost double the amount of calories if I were to just walk on a flat incline, because it's a lot more demanding on your body too to walk on an incline versus to walk on a flat surface. But those are just estimates. So sleep and stress management, number 5. So the core concept is sleep and stress levels play a significant role in fat loss. Lack of sleep or high stress can lead to an increase in cortisol, a hormone that promotes fat storage, especially around the visceral fat. So we have a specific study. The conclusion was short-term moderate sleep restriction and reduced insulin sensitivity compared to the ad libido sleep in this group of healthy young adults. Basically, this study implied that it could affect your ability to lose fat way easier than you think you can and preserve that muscle mass that you want to preserve while dieting. It's really important for sleep. I think the 2 biggest factors really is your diet and your sleep. If your sleep is all over the place and you're not getting good frequent amount of sleep, it's going to affect your workout the next day. It's going to probably just affect your life in general. You're not going to be in a good mood. You're probably not going to want to go to the gym more so often. You're going to be a little bit hungrier throughout the day the next day because your hormones are all over the place. So I think the practical tip would really to be, 1, to have proper sleep and stress management to support your fat loss. So try to minimize as much stress as possible. Go walk in the park. Go have like an hour or 2 of free time. Go watch Netflix. Go enjoy time with your family, your friends. I think 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, but it's very dependent on you. Practice relaxation techniques like meditation, deep breathing, yoga to manage the stress. For quality of sleep is just as important as the quantity. Ensure that your sleep environment, it's comfortable, it's cool, it's in a dark room, and it's free from distractions. So no blue light, no noise. I think that's one of the best ways to utilize it. And then we're going to try to manage emotional eating by using stress management techniques like journaling or talking to a support group like a dietitian, because a lot of people like to turn to food for comfort, but if you're dieting, we can't really do that. Number 6, a sustainable approach to fat loss. The core concept, we're going to avoid extreme diets or rapid fat loss methods that are unsustainable. I'm telling you right now, long-term consistency is the key for a lasting fat loss diet. If you think this dieting process sucks, you're not going to want to come back and do this again. So quick fixes are often going to lead to muscle loss, metabolic slowdown, and a rebound in weight gain. The most practical tip here is to aim to lose anywhere from 0.5 to 1% of body weight each week for a steady, healthy fat loss. And we've seen this in a lot of studies, specifically under Eric Helms' evidence-based recommendations for natural bodybuilding contest preparations. nutrition and supplementation. So 0.5 to 1% would generally mean anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds for a 200-pound man. So you want to lose anywhere from 2 pounds a week to 4 pounds a week. If you're a little bit heavier, you can get away with losing a little bit more, but I think the best approach is kind of stay within that guideline and don't push it too much, because you're just going to end up hurting yourself in the end. And if we take this a little bit slow and steadier, think about it like this. If you're already at the top of the mountain, there's nowhere else for you to go. So if we kind of stay in the middle towards the bottom, there's room for us to keep losing fat as much as we can, or utilizing different techniques so we keep losing fat. Additional tips, we're going to focus on building habits such as regular exercise, mindful eating, and meal prepping that can support long-term health. I think the best, most practical and logical way is really to wake up in the morning. This is how I do it. Take a half an hour to an hour, make your breakfast, make your lunch, make your dinner, pack it up. So for me, I'll make my protein pancakes. As soon as I'm done making my protein pancakes, my rice is on the side cooking. Put that away, throw chicken in the pan, cook it up, add some vegetables, maybe some frozen vegetables, stir that up, kind of make a stir fry. Now that's going in the second Tupperware for lunch. Add a little bit of rice, some olive oil, that's done. Now for my dinner, it's either lean ground turkey with a little bit of olive oil or eggs, 7 to 8 eggs. As soon as that's done, that's my last meal. That's my dinner, which is generally one of my later meals. And then I throw the rest of the rice in there. I'm done for the day. The food is fresh. I choose whether I want that meal specifically for that day. I don't have to look at my fridge, because now I'm looking at last Sunday and I realized that I packed salmon for dinner on Friday, but I don't want salmon. This is what I want for that day, and it stays fresh the entire day. So I think that's one of the best ways to really utilize meal prepping. So consider working with a nutrition coach or trainer like myself. But if I'm not in the area, which I will have my online coaching program coming out soon, you guys, if you're struggling to create sustainable routines, so I think that's one of the best approaches. This can help you set realistic goals and provide guidance. So look for a nutrition coach, your dietitian, and trainers around you guys. Ones that you feel most comfortable and you can have a good conversation with, and they seem a lot more open-minded about certain things, because everything in the scientific research is always new to us, and we're always trying to figure out better ways to build muscle, to lose fat, and just to make it easier for everybody. Number 7, we're gonna have patience and we're gonna have consistency. So the core concept here, guys, fat loss takes time. While visible changes may occur in 30 days, significant and long-lasting results require patience, consistent effort. So the key point here is we want to focus on making small, sustainable improvements over time, not expecting dramatic changes in a month. They're going to be changes, but they're not going to be as dramatic as you might think. So we're going to recognize that fat loss is not linear. Some weeks may be slower than others. Some days are going to suck. Some days are going to be good. And that happens to all of us. But we want to be consistent and we want to trust the process. Additional tips, we can stay motivated by celebrating small victories, such as like improved energy, strength. Maybe your clothes are fitting better. Maybe you see more muscle separation on your body. Your waist is getting smaller. I think those are the most practical, most logical ways to do it. Number 8, we're going to track progress and adjust accordingly. So the core concept, we're going to track your progress through multiple metrics rather than just relying on the weight scale, because we don't really want to rely on just one thing. Kind of the same way those local millionaires and billionaires don't rely on one stream of income. They have multiple stream of incomes to kind of bounce off of. So the key point is the scale doesn't reflect the fat loss, especially if you're building muscle at the same time you're losing fat. So sometimes your weight can stay the same if you're building muscle and losing fat. Physically, you're not going to see it on the scale. You're only going to physically see it in the mirror with the fabric tape and other metrics. So we're going to measure our waist circumference with the fabric tape, track how your clothes fit, also monitor your body fat percentage. I think really the best ways to do this is with a DEXA if you can. DEXA can still have an error rate, probably around maybe like 1 to 3%. Take progress photos for a more comprehensive view of fat loss. I think the progress photos and the fabric tape are probably one of your best ways of measuring progress and performance in the gym. If you're not seeing immediate changes, consider adjusting your approach. So the calories, increasing the cardio, whether that's fine-tuning your caloric intake, changing up on the exercise routine, or just maybe improving your sleep. We're going to use a fitness tracker if you want to monitor other metrics such as like your step count and your heart rate. That's the only reason why we're going to use specifically the fitness tracker, just the step count and the heart rate. We're going to focus on long-term behavioral change. Number 9, the last one. So the core concept, we're going to create sustainable fat loss requires changing your habits and not just following a short-term diet plan, right? So quick fixes, extreme diets, they're going to often lead to rebound and weight gain and mental burnout. So that's why you always see those carnivore diets and those keto diets, intermittent fasting diets, they always pop up all the time. One, they're in their own kind of separate thing because they're generally not sustainable for most of the public. And I think because they see such aggressive results that they thought they found like a miracle, they thought they found like a blessing in disguise, and they think because it worked for them, it's going to work for everybody else. That's not how it works. Whatever you can adhere to and then you're seeing the results, I would suggest you stick to that. And then the practical tip, we're going to create sustainable routine that includes a balanced diet. So I want to say really 80 to 90% of the foods you eat, closer to 100%, especially when you're really getting shredded down, should be whole nutrient dense foods. And consistent exercise, we're going to focus on long-term health rather than just rapid changes. So I think that's really one of your best ways to do it. Additional tips. So we're going to find a workout routine or type of exercise that you enjoy. It limits any type of joint stress you can stick to over time, and this just makes staying consistent for you much easier. So if you have problems with like a squat because your lower back always bothers you, go to the hack squat machine. I think it's a little bit better. If deadlifts always gives you an issue, try something else. Just do a bent over row if you want to work out your back muscles. Do pull-ups if you want to just work out your back muscles. Build a support network, whether it's family, friends, or an online community to help you stay motivated and accountable. So let's do a sample 30-day plan for losing visceral fat. So week 1, we can focus on adjusting your diet and cutting back on added sugars, which might be a way for you to reduce your caloric intake. Start with 30 minutes of steady state cardio 3 times a week. That's after your workout on a separate day or a few hours apart. Don't let that interfere with your resistance training program because that might affect your performance in the gym. So 1 hour resistance training 2 or 3 times a week. If you're doing it twice a week, full body. If you're doing it 3 times a week, you do upper, lower, upper. Or if you're a female, you could do lower, upper, lower. Week 2 is possibly add a session or increase the duration of the cardio. So if you're used to doing cardio 3 times a week, maybe bump it to 4 or just increase the time. So if you're used to doing cardio 3 times a week for 20 minutes, now do it 3 times a week for 30 minutes and see how you do. 1 hour of resistance training, same thing. We're going to keep resistance training the same thing. Be mindful and practice relaxation techniques. I think that's very important, especially to meditate in the morning to kind of get a visual of what you want to get out of through the day. If you could visually see it in your mind, it's more likely to happen than you think it is. Week 3, we're going to stay consistent with the healthy eating. Make sure we're still in that calorie deficit. 1 hour resistance training 2 to 3 times a week. Ensure you're getting the 7 to 9 hours of sleep. If you have to dip your calories a little bit lower, maybe decrease it by another 200-300 if we're doing this within a 30-day time frame. And then week 4, you're going to push yourself with both cardio and strength training. You're still going to keep strength training the same thing, but with cardio, you might want to increase another session. So now you might be at 5 sessions of cardio doing 30 minutes after your workout. And then we're going to focus on improving sleep and continuing to manage stress because this might get a little bit harder on your sleep phase. You might start waking up in the middle of the night because you're starving, which is normal because that's your leptin level, which is your hormone level telling you that you're getting hungrier throughout the diet. But that also means it's possibly working. I'm telling you right now, losing visceral fat in 30 days requires a balanced approach combining a caloric deficit, high protein intake, and strength training with the added cardio. Cardio is just as important. So we need to be patient, consistent, and focus on long-term lifestyle changes for a sustainable fat loss. We're going to avoid any extreme methods and just focus on creating habits that you can maintain in the long run, which is going to set you apart from everybody else.